I got the job at Blackwood Correctional Facility because I needed the money. My wife was pregnant with our second child. Medical bills were piling up. And when you live in rural Pennsylvania with no college degree and a gap in your employment history, you take whatever pays. Even if it's working the night shift at a maximum security prison that nobody wants to talk about. Blackwood sits 40 miles outside of Pittsburgh, surrounded by dense forest that hasn't been touched in 100 years. The facility was built in 1897. Back then, it housed the worst criminals Pennsylvania had to offer. Murderers, rapists, men who did things so terrible that even other prisoners feared them. Now it houses 342 inmates, most of them serving life sentences. Most of them will die within these walls. My supervisor was a man named Charles Brennan. He was 61 years old, with gray hair and the hollow eyes of someone who'd seen too much. On my first day, he took me to his office and closed the door. Before you start your rounds, there's something you need to understand about Blackwood. He pulled a file from his desk drawer. Inside was a single piece of paper, yellowed, covered in handwritten notes from different people, different decades, different ink colors. Rules for night guards. Blackwood Correctional Facility. Rule 1. Always conduct rounds with a partner. Never patrol alone after midnight. Rule 2. If inmates are screaming in multiple cell blocks simultaneously, do not investigate. Lock yourself in the guard station until it stops. Rule 3. The exercise yard is off limits between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Rule 4. If you hear singing in Latin, report it immediately to the warden. Rule 5. Do not make eye contact with any inmate in solitary confinement. And then I saw Rule 6, written in red ink, underlined 3 times. Rule 6. Cell block D is to remain locked at all times. Do not open the doors. Do not respond to any sounds from inside. Do not acknowledge its existence to inmates or visitors. Under no circumstances are you to enter cell block D. I looked up at Brennan. What's in cell block D? His face went pale. That's not the right question. The right question is what happened in cell block D, and the answer is something that should have stayed buried 80 years ago. Sir, I don't understand. In 1941, Blackwood had a problem: overcrowding. The prison was designed for 200 inmates, but held over 400. Men were sleeping 3 to a cell. Tensions were high. Violence was constant. So the warden at the time, a man named Edgar Crane, decided to expand. He built cell block D. Brennan pulled out an old photograph, black and white, showing a long corridor of cells. The architecture was different from the rest of the prison. Darker, more oppressive. The cells were smaller. The bars were thicker. And at the end of the hallway was a heavy iron door with no window. Cell block D could hold 60 inmates. It was designed for the worst of the worst, the most violent offenders, the ones who couldn't be controlled in general population. For 3 years, it operated without incident. Just another cell block in an overcrowded prison. Then came March 15th, 1944. That was the day everything changed. What happened? A riot started in cell block D. The inmates somehow got their cell doors open. They killed 4 guards, took 3 more hostage, barricaded themselves inside. The warden called in the state police, sent in a tactical team to retake the block. Did they succeed? Brennan was quiet for a long moment. They succeeded. In sealing it off, in locking the doors, in making sure nothing could get out. But they didn't retake it. They couldn't, because when they breached the entrance, when they entered cell block D, they found something impossible. What did they find? All 60 inmates were dead, hanging from the cell bars. But they hadn't been hanged by ropes. They'd been hanged by their own intestines, pulled from their bodies while they were still alive and used to suspend them from the ceiling. The medical examiner said it would have taken hours, hours of unimaginable agony. Jesus Christ, the 3 hostage guards were alive, physically unharmed, but they couldn't speak, couldn't move, just sat there staring at nothing with their eyes wide open. 2 of them died within a week. Hearts just stopped. The 3rd one lived for 6 more months in a psychiatric facility. Never spoke, never blinked, just stared at the wall until he died. And the tactical team that breached cell block D, 8 men went in, only 3 came out. They sealed the doors behind them and refused to say what they'd seen inside. The state police classified everything, buried the reports, and Warden Crane gave the order that cell block D was to be permanently sealed. No one enters, no one leaves. It stays locked forever. That was 80 years ago. Surely whatever happened is long gone by now. Brennan looked at me with those hollow eyes. You'd think that. You'd hope that. But cell block D is still active, still occupied. We hear things from inside. Screaming, crying, sounds that aren't human. And every few years, a guard breaks the rules. A guard who doesn't believe. A guard who thinks it's just a story to scare new employees. What happens to them? They don't come back out. Not really. Oh, their bodies walk around. Their mouths speak words. But something fundamental is missing. Something essential. Like their souls stayed behind those locked doors while their bodies came back to finish their shifts. I started my first night shift at 10 p.m. My partner was a guard named Marcus Webb. He was 38 years old, with 15 years at Blackwood under his belt. We walked the cell blocks together. General population first. B block, C block. Everything seemed normal. Inmates sleeping or reading or talking quietly in their cells. At midnight, we stopped outside, cell block D. The entrance was different from the other blocks. A massive iron door. No window, no slot for passing food trays. Just solid metal painted industrial grey, with rust bleeding through at the edges. And covering the door were locks. Not one or two, dozens of them. Padlocks, deadbolts, chain locks. Some looked new. Others looked like they'd been there since the 1940s. All of them secured with keys that Marcus kept on a ring attached to his belt. Don't even look at it too long. Marcus pulled me away. Don't think about what's inside. Don't wonder. Don't imagine. Just accept that it's locked and move on. Has anyone ever tried to open it? I asked. Marcus was quiet as we walked toward E block. 3 times since I've been here. First was a guard named Tom Wilson, 15 years ago. He thought the rules were bullshit. Thought we were hiding something valuable in there. Maybe drugs or money from old prison operations. He stole the keys. Opened cell block D at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night. What did he find? We found him the next morning, sitting outside the door. The door was closed and locked again. All the locks were back in place, but Tom was different. He smiled when he saw us. This big, wide smile that didn't reach his eyes. And he said everything was fine. Everything was perfect. He'd gone inside and seen the truth. And now he understood. Understood what? He never explained. Just kept smiling. Kept saying he understood. He worked another 2 weeks, did his job, followed all the procedures. Then one night during his shift, he walked into the exercise yard, climbed onto the roof of the maintenance building, and jumped off. 30-foot drop onto concrete. Killed him instantly. But, according to the guard who found him, Tom was still smiling, and the other 2. Marcus stopped walking, turned to face me. The other 2 are still here, still working. You'll meet them eventually. Guard Rodriguez on C block. Guard Chen on the day shift. Both of them opened cell block D. Both of them came back out, and both of them are wrong now. Something about their eyes. Something about the way they move, like they're puppets being controlled by someone who doesn't quite understand how humans are supposed to work. The first week passed without incident. I learned the routines, learned which inmates were problems and which ones kept to themselves, learned to trust my instincts when something felt off. But every night at midnight, Marcus and I would walk past cell block D, and every night, I felt it watching me, not with eyes, with something else, with intention, with hunger. Like it knew I was there, like it was waiting for me to make a mistake. On my 8th night, I heard it for the first time, singing, coming from inside cell block D, a man's voice, deep and resonant, singing in a language I didn't recognize. The melody was beautiful, haunting. It made my chest ache with something I couldn't name. Marcus grabbed my arm. Don't listen, keep walking. But it's just singing. Someone's alive in there. No. Whatever is in there isn't alive, not in any way that matters. He pulled me down the hallway. Rule 4 says if you hear singing in Latin, report it to the warden. But Rule 6 supersedes everything. We don't open that door. We don't acknowledge what's inside. We just keep walking. The singing followed us, growing louder, more insistent, and underneath the melody, I heard other sounds, whispers, dozens of voices, whispering words I couldn't quite make out. Words that felt important. Words that felt true. I reported the singing to Warden Patricia Holbrook the next morning. She was a woman in her 50s who'd been running Blackwood for 12 years. She listened to my report without interrupting. Then she opened her desk drawer and pulled out a file. This happens about once a month. The singing, the whispers. Sometimes we hear screaming. Sometimes we hear laughter. Sometimes we hear nothing for weeks. And that's almost worse. She showed me the file. Inside were incident reports, dating back decades. July 1963. Singing reported from cell block D. Duration for hours. No action taken per Rule 6. October 1978. Screaming reported from cell block D. Duration 9 hours. 3 inmates in adjacent blocks attempted suicide simultaneously. All 3 survived. All 3 refused to explain why. March 1991. Laughter reported from cell block D. Duration, 6 hours. Guard Michael Torres entered cell block D, despite direct orders. Found the next morning in the exercise yard. All of his teeth had been removed, arranged in a perfect circle around his body. Guard Torres survived, but never spoke again. December 2009. Silence from cell block D for 43 consecutive days. On day 44, all locks on the main door unlocked simultaneously at 3:14 a.m. Door remained closed, but unlocked for 7 minutes before locks re-engaged. No explanation found. What's in there? I asked. What could possibly do these things? Warden Holbrook closed the file. That's the question everyone asks. And the answer is, we don't know. We've had priests come. We've had paranormal investigators. We've had engineers and architects and psychologists. Everyone who studies cell block D comes to the same conclusion. Something is in there. Something intelligent. Something that shouldn't exist. Has anyone ever gone in with cameras, with recording equipment? Twice. Once in 1984. Once in 2006. Both times the equipment failed the moment they crossed the threshold. Cameras went dead. Recording devices produced only static, and both teams refused to describe what they saw. They just sealed the door and recommended it never be opened again. On my 15th night, I met Guard Rodriguez. He was working the late shift on C block, a man in his 40s with graying hair and dead eyes. When I introduced myself, he smiled. That same too-wide smile Marcus had described. The smile that didn't reach his eyes. You're new. He shook my hand. His grip was cold, lifeless, like shaking hands with a corpse. Have you seen cell block D yet? I've walked past it, but I follow the rules. Good rules. Important rules. He leaned closer. His breath smelled like formaldehyde, like something preserved, something dead. But rules can be broken, and when they break, you learn such wonderful things, such true things, such perfect things. I pulled my hand away. Rodriguez just kept smiling, kept staring with those dead eyes. Marcus appeared and pulled me aside. Don't talk to him. Don't listen to anything he says. Whatever came back from cell block D, wearing Rodriguez's face, it's not Rodriguez anymore. That night, at precisely 3 a.m., all the lights in Blackwood went out. Emergency generators kicked in after 30 seconds. But in that half-minute of total darkness, I heard it. The sound of metal scraping against stone, coming from cell block D, like something massive was moving behind that locked door, like something was trying to get out. When the lights came back on, Marcus and I ran to cell block D. The door was still locked. All the padlocks and chains were still in place, but something was different. The rust on the door had spread. What had been small patches was now covering nearly half the surface, and in the fresh rust I could see patterns, shapes that looked almost like writing, like someone had carved words into the metal from the inside. Marcus photographed it, sent the images to the warden. Her response came back within minutes. Do not attempt to read what's written. Do not photograph it again. Paint over it immediately. We spent the next 2 hours covering the rust with industrial grey paint. But even under the fresh paint, I could still see the shapes, still feel the words trying to form in my mind, trying to tell me something, trying to make me understand. On my 23rd night, I made a mistake. I was conducting rounds alone. Marcus had called in sick. The replacement guard was late, and protocol said never patrol alone after midnight. But it was 3:30 a.m. My shift ended at 6. I thought I could handle a few hours by myself. I was wrong. I walked past cell block D like I'd done dozens of times before. The door was locked. The chains were in place. Everything looked normal. But as I passed, I heard something that made me stop. A voice. A woman's voice. Crying, please, help me. I'm locked in here. I've been locked in here for so long. Please. I knew the rules. I knew what Marcus had told me. I knew about the guards who'd opened that door and never came back the same. But this was different. This was a woman. A real woman. Crying, begging for help. Hello. I approached the door. Can you hear me? Yes. Oh God. Yes. I can hear you. Please. You have to get me out. They locked me in here by mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not an inmate. I'm a guard. I was doing my rounds, and the door closed behind me, and I've been trapped for days, maybe weeks. I don't know anymore. Please. I put my hand on the door. It was cold. Ice cold. Like touching frozen metal in winter. What's your name? Sarah. Sarah Martinez. I've been working here for 3 years. You can check the records. You can verify. Just please, please open the door. It's so dark in here, so cold. And there are things in here with me. Things that aren't human. Things that want to hurt me. I pulled out my radio. Tried to call the warden. The radio produced only static. Tried to call the guard station. More static. My phone had no signal. I was alone, and a woman was trapped in cell block D. A guard, someone like me, someone who'd made a mistake and gotten locked inside, with whatever horror lived behind that door. My hand moved toward the key ring on my belt. I knew this was wrong. I knew I was breaking the most important rule. But I couldn't leave her in there. I couldn't abandon her. Please. The voice was getting weaker, quieter. They're coming closer. I can hear them moving in the dark. I can feel their breath on my neck. Please hurry, please. I grabbed the first lock, started to turn the key. The lock opened with a click that echoed down the empty hallway. That's when Marcus tackled me from behind, slammed me into the wall, knocked the keys from my hand. His face was pale, terrified, furious. What the hell are you doing? There's a woman in there, guard, Sarah Martinez. She's been trapped for days. Sarah Martinez died in 2004. He picked up the keys. She opened cell block D during her shift. We found her body 3 days later in the prison chapel. Her eyes had been gouged out, her tongue had been cut out, and carved into her chest were the words, "I saw the truth, but I heard her." She was crying. She was begging for help. That's what it does. That's how it works. It finds what you care about, what makes you human, what makes you compassionate, and it uses that against you. Marcus relocked the padlock I'd opened. The woman you heard wasn't Sarah Martinez. It wasn't anyone. It was the thing that lives in cell block D, the thing that's been there since 1944, the thing that took 60 inmates and turned them into decorations, the thing that breaks guards and drives inmates insane and waits forever for someone stupid enough to open that door. I slid down the wall, sat on the floor. My hands were shaking. My heart was hammering because I'd come so close to opening that door, so close to letting something out that should never be free. Marcus sat down next to me. I almost opened it too. My first year here, I heard my daughter crying on the other side. She was 6 years old, had been kidnapped 3 months earlier. Police never found her, never found a body. And then I heard her voice coming from cell block D, heard her begging me to save her, telling me she was scared and cold and alone. What stopped you? Guard Rodriguez. He appeared out of nowhere, knocked the keys from my hand, told me it wasn't my daughter, told me it was a trap. Marcus looked at the door. This was before Rodriguez opened cell block D himself, before he became what he is now. He saved my life that night, and I couldn't save his. What really happened to the 60 inmates in 1944? What killed them? Marcus stood up, helped me to my feet. The official report says it was a mass suicide, some kind of group hysteria. But there's an unofficial report, locked in the warden's safe. Only 3 people have ever read it. The warden who wrote it, the state police captain who investigated, and Warden Holbrook. What does it say? That the inmates didn't kill themselves, that something else did it, something that was already in cell block D when they arrived, something that had been there long before Blackwood was built, long before there was a prison, maybe long before there were people. You're saying cell block D was built on something old. I'm saying cell block D was built around something that couldn't be moved or destroyed or contained. So they built the prison around it, built the walls and the locks and the protocols, and they prayed it would be enough. The next morning, I submitted my resignation. Warden Holbrook accepted it without question. She'd seen it before. Guards who came too close to breaking Rule 6. Guards who heard the voices and almost listened. Most of them quit, the smart ones anyway. But before I left, she showed me something. A book, leather-bound, filled with handwritten entries dating back to 1897. The Secret History of Cell Block D. Entry, April 3, 1897. During construction of the new cell block, workers uncovered a chamber beneath the foundation. Circular room, approximately 20 feet in diameter. Walls covered in symbols we cannot translate. In the center was a door, stone, ancient, sealed with iron bands and strange locks. We bricked over the chamber and continued construction. The door remains buried beneath cell block D. Entry, September 12, 1941. Cell block D, completed. 60 cells, maximum security, but the guards report strange sounds at night. Whispers in the walls, cold spots in empty hallways. We have a priest, bless the block. The sounds stop for 3 weeks. Entry, March 16, 1944. Cell block D massacre. 60 inmates dead. 3 guards, catatonic. Tactical team reports seeing the stone door in the buried chamber. It was open. Something came through. Something that shouldn't exist in our world. We sealed cell block D. Pray God, it's enough. Entry, October 7, 1978. The door in the buried chamber is opening wider. We can hear it, feel it. Guards report seeing shadows that don't match any light source. Inmates report nightmares about a place beneath the prison. A place with 60 rooms and one door. A place where something waits. Entry, May 22, 2019. Structural engineers examined cell block D. They report the foundation is crumbling. The chamber beneath is expanding. Whatever is down there is growing stronger. We estimate 10 years before the walls fail, before the locks break, before the door opens completely. I looked at Warden Holbrook. 10 years, that was 5 years ago. Yes. So in 5 more years, whatever is in cell block D will be free. We don't know. We hope the protocols will hold. We hope the locks and chains and rules will be enough. But every year, the sounds get louder. The temperature drops lower. More guards report seeing things that shouldn't exist. More inmates wake up screaming about the place beneath the prison. What happens when it gets out? She closed the book. That's not my problem. I retire in 3 years, and God help whoever takes over as warden after me. I left Blackwood Correctional Facility that morning, moved my family to Ohio, got a job as a shopping mall security guard. Something safe, something normal, something where the worst thing I'd face was shoplifters and teenagers. But I still think about cell block D, still wonder what's behind that locked door. What's in the buried chamber beneath the prison? What came through the stone door in 1944 and decided to stay? And I think about the 5 years before the walls fail, before whatever is trapped in cell block D finally breaks free. Last week, I got a call from Marcus. His voice was shaking. We lost another one, young guard, 26 years old, just started 3 months ago. He opened cell block D last Tuesday night. Did you find him? Found him this morning in the prison library. He'd torn out every page from every book, used them to build something, a structure, like a model. It took us an hour to figure out what it was. What was it? A door. He'd built a perfect scale replica of the stone door from the buried chamber, complete with symbols and locks and iron bands, all made from torn book pages and his own blood. Marcus paused, and he was still alive when we found him, still conscious, still building. He looked at us and smiled. That same smile Rodriguez has, that same dead look in his eyes. Is he still there? Still working at Blackwood? No, he walked into cell block D 3 days ago, during his shift, unlocked every single lock, opened the door, and walked inside. The door closed behind him. All the locks engaged automatically, and we haven't heard from him since. You need to evacuate that prison. You need to shut it down. The warden tried. State said no. Too expensive, too complicated, too many questions. So we keep working, keep following the rules, keep praying those locks hold for 5 more years. Marcus hung up. I sat in my apartment, stared at the wall, and I realized something terrible. Something I should have understood back at Blackwood. The rules aren't keeping something in cell block D. The rules are keeping us out, because whatever is in there, whatever came through that stone door in 1944, it doesn't want to escape. It wants us to come inside. It wants us to open that door. It wants us to see what's waiting in the buried chamber beneath the prison, and every guard who breaks Rule 6. Every person who opens cell block D, they're not being killed, or trapped, or transformed. They're being invited. They're being shown the truth. They're being welcomed home. I hear it now, even here. 600 miles from Blackwood, I hear the singing. That same melody from my 8th night. That same beautiful, haunting song in a language I don't recognize. And underneath the singing, I hear whispers. Dozens of voices. Hundreds of voices. All saying the same thing. Come back. Come see. Come understand. Come home. The locks will break in 5 years. The walls will crumble. The door will open. And whatever has been waiting in cell block D, since before humans built prisons, since before we had names for evil, since before we understood that some doors should never be opened, it will finally be free. And I think I know where it will go first. I think I know who it will visit. I think it remembers the guard who almost opened the door. The guard who heard Sarah Martinez crying. The guard whose hand touched those locks before Marcus stopped him. It remembers me. It knows my name. It knows where I live. It knows I came so close to understanding. The singing is outside my apartment now. I can hear it through the walls, through the floor, through my own heartbeat, and I understand now what guard Rodriguez meant, what guard Chen meant, what all those dead guards discovered. There are such wonderful things behind that door, such true things, such perfect things. I'm packing a bag, loading my car, making the drive back to Pennsylvania, back to Blackwood, back to cell block D, not because I have to, because I want to, because I need to understand, because whatever is behind that door, whatever waits in the buried chamber beneath the prison, it has something to show me, something important, something that will make everything make sense. Marcus will try to stop me. Warden Holbrook will try to stop me. The protocols will try to stop me. But in 5 years, the locks break anyway. The walls crumble anyway. The door opens anyway. So why wait? Why delay the inevitable? Why keep pretending we can contain something that was old when humans were learning to build fire? I'm driving now, 300 miles. To Blackwood. The singing is with me. In my head, in my chest, in my soul. It's so beautiful, so perfect, so true. And when I arrive, when I stand before those locked doors, when I turn those keys and break those chains and violate Rule 6 one final time, I won't be afraid, I won't be hesitant, I won't be human anymore, I'll be home. Tentar novamente Cláudia é uma IA e pode cometer erros. Por favor, verifique as respostas.